Hey everyone, this amazing ESO Network show is brought to you by our fine sponsor, Amazon.com. Please remember to shop Amazon for all your geeky needs, no matter what time of the year it is. All you need to do is go to esopodcast.com/ESO Amazon, or click on the Amazon banner on the ESO Network webpage to go to our e-store. It's the best way to shop and the best way to support this program, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, that's enough of me babbling for now. Now on with your regular scheduled show.
Hello, my name is Jay Patrick, and that is Adam.
Hello.
Join us for the Adam and JP Show.
Hello.
Available on iTunes and Stitcher Radio.
Hello.
Get it now.
Hello.
Oh, we're just kidding. If you love comics, video games, movies, wrestling.
And who doesn't? These are all great things that make us who we are.
That's true. Then you should join us for the Adam and JP Show. You actually can get it on iTunes and Stitcher Radio.
Yeah, that part was true.
And right here on the ESO Network.
And AdamandJP.com.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, make it so, make it so, make it so. Man, it doesn't show signs of stopping. And I brought me some tea Earl Grey hot. The lights are turned way down low. Make it so, make it so, make it so. When we finally kiss goodnight. How I hate going out in the storm. But if you...
Really?
Shut up, Wesley. All the way home, I'll be...
warm. Oh, the fire is slowly dying. And my dear...
We're still goodbye, then. But
As long as you love me,
so...
make it so.
Make it so. Make it so.
Hello and welcome again to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. I am the host, the Monster, back to deliver the last sci-fi news of 2016. So normally this would have come out already, but because this is a last episode of 2016 for the sci-fi news segment, I wanted to do a little bit more than I normally would do. Since I've been kind of comfortable with doing longer shows by myself and talking about different subjects, I felt good enough that I had to do this. So I included mid-season finales for several shows, which I'll talk in a moment about. Of course, the big Sci-Fi 3 news items I want to talk about. And lastly, I wanted to put in some trailer reviews, some quick reviews about trailers that came out just recently in the past 2 weeks. Now, having said all that, lots have come out, and there's still stuff that I'm still wanting to put in or reverse the order of everything with the podcast. So let me start off with this. What I wanted to talk about was that a couple of news items that came to light, and this was to me a very big thing. For Star Trek Discovery, the new TV series is coming in 2017. We had Michelle Yeoh, who is going to be in the series, but we do get now a cast lead of this series, which is Shaniqua. Oh, what's her name? Oh, I hate this computer. Why are you blocking me? So in addition to Michelle Yeoh being part of the cast, we get finally our first lead into who's going to be running the show, basically, for Star Trek Discovery. And her name is Shaniqua Martin Green, who, if you watch The Walking Dead, she plays Sasha Williams. So it's as if her plate is not full enough, now she's got the lead on this. So now, I was looking over real quick about what her role is going to be, and basically she's going to be a lieutenant commander. But the article that was going on was talking about how this seemed to be a first, that you're not going to get a captain, per se, that's leading the team. But we did with Benjamin Sisko and DS9, so this is not that different. And eventually he did become captain. So I don't see how that's so original other than we do have a female lead who happens to be African American. And that's fantastic because we need to have representations, on the screen. We are getting gay characters. We're getting a more diverse cast than we had in the past. So this is what, Star Trek is really all about. And whether people accept it or not, but the reality is, if we're ever going to move forward, we have to move forward together and not be divided like we are with things the way they are. So, aside from that, let's move on to other topics that I posted. A lot of this I posted on my Facebook page, so if you want to follow stuff that I discover along the way, follow my Facebook page. The Monster Sci-Fi Show page is there. Also on Twitter, Monster Sci-Fi Show with the SYFY handle. Legendary came out with the Godzilla 2 working title, which is Godzilla King of the Monsters, which sounds awesome. So I'm hoping that we'll have even more monsters for the next sequel. And then on top of that, hopefully after that series, we'll get finally the Godzilla versus King Kong movie. So I'm really anxious to see how this is all going to play out. So let's talk about trailers first. And before I even get to the trailers, there was news about the Blade Runner 2049, which is the sequel to the original Blade Runner that came out back in the 80s that I remember. So we are going to get a trailer sometime very soon. It could be actually next week that we'll get this. So even though I may not be doing any kind of podcasting, I will be posting if I find that trailer for that movie on, again, Facebook or on Twitter. You'll see it. So it's really imperative that if you want to follow along what I'm doing, that's the place you want to go to. So that's the one thing that I'm really excited about. Now, the other thing that came out, which I'm not going to be talking about, is the War of the Planet of the Apes. And the reason why I'm not going to be talking about it because I never saw the sequel, which is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I loved the first one, and I didn't think I would actually get emotionally attached to this, but I did. But it just, for some reason, just didn't have an interest to go into the second movie. So watching the War of the Planet of the Apes, just kind of like, I have no idea what to talk about because, again, I need to see the sequel first, and then I can talk about this. But in any case, that trailer also came out. Oh, and to go back with Blade Runner 2049, Ridley Scott, as you know, is attached to Alien Covenant, which, of course, he directed the original Blade Runner. So that trailer is actually going to be playing or supposedly being released later this month. So again, I'll post it if it comes out, and then you'll be the first to know about that. So speaking of that, of Ridley Scott, again with Ridley Scott, tomorrow being Friday, the day before Star Wars Rogue One, if you have Amazon Prime, like I do, Man in the High Castle Season 2 is going to finally take place, so I'm excited for that. Although what was weird about the tagline, is something about the date or it's going to be changed forever, and I thought it landed on the day of the Electoral College, which is actually on the 19th, so... But I thought it would be kind of cool if it actually did land on a day that we're supposedly the Electoral College is going to cast its vote for Trump. But again, I'm not going to get into politics, but I thought that would be kind of cool to tie it in together because of that whole alternate history stuff. But in any case, it didn't happen that way. All right. So aside from that, another quick thing. Black Panther is going to be starting to film in January. So that's another cool thing. So Ryan Coogler, who is directed Creed, which I just saw recently on Hulu. So very happy what I saw on Creed. And of course, Michael B. Jordan is going to be in this movie just like he was in Creed. So very exciting stuff that's coming on down the road. All right, so finally, let's get into the trailers. Again, I'm not going to talk in great length about them because they're only a couple of minutes, and I just want to give you a couple of yay or nays or what I liked about her and things like that. So let's start off with Spider-Man Homecoming.
What's up, guys? Wait a minute. You guys aren't the real Avengers. I can tell Hulk gives it away. Oh, that was awesome. Does Liz get a new top?
No, we've seen that before. Never with that skirt.
Should probably stop staring before it gets creepy, though.
Too late. You guys are losers.
So, to become an Avenger, are there, like, trials or an interview?
Just don't do anything I would do. And definitely don't do anything I wouldn't do. There's a little gray area in there, and that's where you operate.
Oh.
All right?
That's not a hug. I'm just grabbing the door for you.
All right, kid. Good luck out there. Listen, I know school sucks.
Peter, you still with us?
Yeah.
I know you want to save the world. But you're not ready yet.
You're the Spider-Man.
No, I'm not. This is just a costume. This is
You're on the ceiling.
Stay close to the ground. And stay out of trouble. Forget the flying monster guy. There are people who handle this sort of thing.
I'm sick of him treating me like a kid all the time.
But you are a kid.
This is my chance to prove myself.
Peter, what is going on with you?
I'm really sorry. I'm so busy. I'm slammed.
Don't mess with me, because I will kill you and everybody you love.
Now, that trailer is going to be, actually, the movie is coming out in July 7th, 2017. So we already know Tom Holland from Captain America Civil War, in which he played Spider-Man, of course. The young Peter Parker went to toe-to-toe with Ant-Man, and then the classic Empire Strikes Back move that really made me appreciate him for his nerdiness. But now we're actually going to have Sony's version of that character in their universe, and Iron Man is going to be a part of that. To what extent, I don't know. There's a couple of quick scenes in which Tony is talking to Peter about, you're not a real hero, you're not really part of the Avengers, but, find your way eventually. And so Peter, of course, is going to have to prove himself and his worth as the Spider-Man. So we do get the villain, which is the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, who is going to be, I'm sure he's going to be fantastic, because, again, who doesn't like Michael Keaton? He played Birdman, so just another stretch to playing another Bird character. At least he didn't play Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. So, good for you if you know that reference from Adult Swim. But in any case, Vulture to me in the comics wasn't that impressive, considering, he's just a guy in a wingsuit and he just happens to be bald. There's nothing really impressive about a bald wing villain, but none the case. The version that we see here looks a little bit more menacing because he has a helmet and he has claw-like feet protrusions or something like that. Whatever the case is, we'll see how it all plays out. But I'm hoping it's not going to be like Willem Dafoe in the Goblin costume, in which it's a mask of the Goblin as opposed to the actual prosthetic. So, I don't see Vulture being a horrific person, just a person that now is wearing a suit of the Vulture. So, one of my favorite moments, the one that came out in the teaser, where it's Spider-Man on the Washington Monument, and he's leaping off it, trying to fly over a helicopter, and then he spreads out the the spider web wing from under his arms, and he kind of glides over that, which is kind of cool. And of course, my favorite moment with Tony, it's like he has to do the little pep talk about who he is, and he kind of looks like he's going to hug Peter, and Peter's like, "Oh, I didn't expect this," but then it's like, "No, I'm not really hugging you. I'm just trying to get the door for you," which that's very keeping in that character. So, again, don't know how much he's going to be playing in. There is that one great shot at the end in which there's Iron Man and there's Peter, kind of going through the cityscape. But I hope that's not like the ending of Amazing Spider-Man Part 2, where it's the Rhino, that he has that nice famous shot of him going slow motion and throwing a sewer plate, and that was a closing shot. I'm hoping that the Iron Man Spider-Man is not the closing shot, because that would suck. I really would like to see a good team up, but who knows? We'll see what happens.
The fate of the universe lies on your shoulders. Now, whatever you do, don't push this button. Because that will set off the bomb immediately, and we'll all be dead. Now, repeat back what I just said.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone. Try again.
I am Groot.
Mm-hmm.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I'm Groot.
No!
Showtime, a-holes!
Screw you, spaceship! Tape out there. I want to put some tape over the death button.
Nobody has any tape.
Not a single person has tape.
You have an atomic bomb in your bag. If anybody's gonna have tape, it's you.
I have to do everything.
You are wasting a lot of time.
That's a really bad sign.
Touch someone, I can feel their feelings. You feel love.
Yeah, I guess, I feel a general unselfish love for just about everybody.
No, sexual love.
No, I don't.
For her.
No.
See, you just told everyone your deepest, darkest secret.
Dude, come on. I think you're overreacting a little bit.
You must be so embarrassed. Do me.
All right, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is going to be coming out on May 5th, 2017. So, one of the things that I love about this is the fact that there are some great moments in this that I'm actually laughing out loud. Namely, it's Rocket Raccoon and Baby Groot. And Rocket Raccoon is trying to tell Groot, or Baby Groot, about the bomb and not how to press that button. And of course, he keeps getting it wrong. So, those are the kind of things that I think is going to be the top scenes that I'm going to be eager to see again and again. And of course, Drax is also hilarious in the scene towards the end of the trailer in which he calls out Quill for being, in love with Gamora, but because of that alien that was tapping him, sensing his feelings, he was like, "Oh, go do me." I think he's going to be another breakout character moment. The only thing that I can really say that's negative about this is that Gamora doesn't say a damn word. She's looking, she's running, but she doesn't say anything. So is there a reason behind this? Is there something more to it? Who knows? But I'm kind of miffed by that. But again, nonetheless, it's still a great trailer. I'm happy for that. And of course, I'm looking forward to another stellar soundtrack like they did for the first movie, which I bought because it's so much of my childhood that I listened to. So And when we get closer to that, I'll talk about what my ideas should be for that soundtrack and what songs should go into that second cassette that Peter received at the end of the first movie. But who knows? All right, so let's move on to Transformers: The Last Knight. That one's coming out, and that's going to be June 23rd, 2017.
It has been said through the ages, without sacrifice, there can be no victory. Two species at war. One flesh, one metal. Optimus Prime has left us.
We're floating in space.
100 billion trillion planets in the cosmos.
Everyone, you know.
You want to know, don't you? Why they keep coming here.
I want to stay, and I want to fight them.
And now, two worlds colliding.
The operation is over.
We're not giving up, okay? Only one survives.
Oh my God.
Forgive me.
I had to watch this a couple of times because I honestly did not understand what the hell was going on. So, this is now the fifth movie of the franchise that Michael Bay has now directed. We are getting Marky Mark and a Funky Bunch in their second movie, but this seems to be Michael Bay's last movie to direct for the franchise. Now, the whole point of all this was that why another movie? Well, they were trying to expand this whole cinematic universe like Marvel's doing, like DC is doing. So they're trying to have to keep the series going for as long as they can. So I was reading up on this, and I found out they were planning to do a Bumblebee spinoff, which I'm like, really? Bumblebee? That's who you're going to rely the whole series on, is Bumblebee. So, okay, whatever. Just look, I've enjoyed the Transformers except for the second one, which had the Ghetto Bots, which was really offensive, but the third made up for it. Fourth wasn't too bad, but considering there was no Shia LaBeouf, I didn't really think that Mark would come up to snuff, but you know, I really enjoyed that last Transformer movie. Really long, but enjoyable, so I really can't complain. So the only thing I would have is like, well, what else can you do to maintain my interest, or where do we go forward with this? Well, basically we have to have, I guess now, Optimus is now a bad guy. Because in the poster it says, never trust your heroes, or something to that effect. And in the poster you actually see his eyes are purple. So something's going on with Optimus Prime, but in the beginning of the trailer, he's out in space, he's floating out there, and okay, we'll see whatever happens. But it's very not clear because, throughout the course of the trailer, we see different periods in time in which their Transformers are there. But since when were they involved with, the Nazi Germany and all that mess? And there's no record of that, right? Right. So, whatever the case is, I'll find out more information as we go. But I'm a big Transformer fan, and I enjoy the movies. Look, they really do the job. They've entertained me surprisingly for this long. So, who knows? It could be that Bumblebee will be the best thing that ever happens to Transformers. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not going to talk any more about that because I'm getting upset here. But let's move on to the next one. The next one is going to be The Mummy.
Welcome to a new world of gods and monsters.
I saw her. She is real.
Please meet Princess Amunet. She will claim what she has been denied.
Now, this is not a remake, it's not a reboot-ish. Well, in any case, this is the one with Tom Cruise. And this is coming out June 9th, 2017. And what's interesting about this, again, Universal following lead like everybody else, like Marvel and DC. And I just talked about with Transformers, they're also trying to make a cinematic universe and try to expand their famous monsters, starting off with The Mummy. So when I heard that Tom Cruise was going to be part of the Mummy remake, but I'm like, but I like the Brendan Fraser version fine. Second one was okay. Then he got stupid with Jackie Chan. Not Jackie Chan. I forgot who was in the third one. But, it was just enough with the damn movies with the Mummy. But again, the first one was great. I wasn't expecting this kind of like, not necessarily a parody of Indiana Jones, but close enough that it was very enjoyable, very tongue-in-cheek. Stephen Sommers, enjoyable movie that he did. I had no problems with it. But when I heard that this is being remade, I'm like, okay. I mean, Tom Cruise has been doing great, and I'm not knocking him for anything, but, watching the trailer and him being knocked around the airplane as it's going down, I mean, I just saw Mission Impossible 5. And, of course, in the very beginning of that movie, if you haven't seen it, he's hanging on for dear life on the outside of the plane. Literally, he's dangling off that plane. So I'm like, what's with Tom and planes? You know, do I not travel with him on a plane because this is what's going to happen? Apparently. But in any case, what's kind of cool about it is that the mummy is not the traditional male role. It's actually a woman. So if you know from Star Trek Beyond, Sophia Boutella was Jalen, and she was Gazelle in The Kingsman. And if you happen to watch the forgettable Monsters Dark Continent like I did, which was the sequel to the Gareth Edwards movie of Monsters, which was excellent. I highly recommend that you don't watch this movie because it was just a wasted effort. Gareth had nothing to do with this movie, and Sophia was barely used. But in any case, she looks fantastic, and that cool moment in which you look at her eyes and the pupils split into 2 extra pupils, so she has 4 altogether, 2 in each eye. That's a cool effect. So, we'll see what happens from that point on. But, I mean, Tom already has, you know, the Jack Reacher franchise, the Mission Impossible franchise. So I don't know if he's going to be part of this franchise, but there is the character of Dr. Jekyll, which is going to be, I guess, that's what they call it, the Nick Fury key player that's going to be stringing throughout all the other movies. So we're going to get Frankenstein, get Wolfman, and Dracula. Again, I don't know how this will all play out, but everyone is trying to get their franchise universe, their cinematic universe together. And it's kind of weird that they're going with that approach, because when I heard about this, I'm like, oh, they're going to do a Monster Squad, which I love Monster Squad. I know everyone that I listens to the show that does love that movie, you know, Kick the Wolfman in the Nards. That's a great movie. You cannot do anything better, but why not do a team of... I mean, you do a Suicide Squad with villains. Why not do a Suicide Squad with monsters? I don't know. I'm just saying. So that's what I'm going to talk about with the trailers, because, again, I got too much else going on. All right. So what are the big threes? Well, let's kind of do this in this order. Van Williams, if you heard in the news lately, he played the Green Hornet. He had just died. And since then, Florence Henderson had died. Alan Thicke has died. Dr. Bombay, I forgot the actor's name that was on Bewitched, had just died just the other day. So again, 2016 has been the worst year that I could ever remember, that we've lost so many people. And again, I said this before, I know people die every day, every second. But this year, we've lost an enormous amount of people that I grew up with. I mean, Florence Henderson, I mean, Mrs. Brady. I started watching on Hulu like a Brady family special, the Christmas special, where they're all grown up and they're coming back into the house. Because I really kind of felt akin to her and of course to that show. But my God, it's a hot mess of a year. And we're still not over. We still got another 2 weeks to go. All right. So, enough of that. All right. Going back to the Green Hornet. Now, if you have watched Adam West and Burt Ward playing Batman and Robin back in the 60s, they did had a guest spot with the Green Hornet, in which Van Williams and Bruce Lee were playing the Green Hornet and Kato, and it was kind of a clash of two worlds, because basically it's like the Batman and Superman, they're fighting against each other. Now, Green Hornet and Batman, I can say they're evenly matched. But honestly, when I saw that episode and I saw Robin go against Kato, and I'm like, Robin's going to get his butt kicked no matter what. There's nothing that he can do to, not get injured. He will take him out instantly. So it was just like, it was just not a fair fight. But in any case, they did a 2-guest spin on Batman, and then I think about a year after that, they got their own show, which lasted, unfortunately, only just a year, and they kind of did it more straight-laced as opposed to the real campy version of Batman. This was just more of a, crime-fighting duo, and it was just, this is their adventures. I had no idea in researching this that Batman and Robin guest spot on their show on the Green Hornet. So I've only seen like the first episode, which I think was called The Vanishing Bullet, and that was the pilot. So now that I know about this, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to go and find at least the first season, or the only season I should say, and look that up. So this got me thinking about Green Hornet. Aside from the theme song that everyone is like, the Flight of the Bumblebee, I've never read the comics, even though Dynamite had several runs, or did an issue that Kevin Smith did, in which he did an audio reenactment from the comics on his podcast. So there's also that movie that Seth Rogen did, which, yeah, I was really upset that you were going to do this, Seth. Even though you lost all this weight and you look fantastic, to play the Green Hornet and make it kind of like a comedy, I was really kind of upset about that. But what got me interested, again, in the process of researching of this, was that Michael Gondry, who is the director of this movie, did a couple of movies that I've loved, like The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and we also had the other one, Be Kind and Rewind. And I'm like, I just did a podcast, over the summer about that, and I'm just like, I need to watch this. Just because I like his body of work, and it may not be the greatest in watching this, I'm going to give it a pass just because of him. Not because it's Seth Rogen, but I just want to see what he can do, or at least his attempt to do a superhero-like movie. Kind of like what Ang Lee tried to do with the first version of the Hulk with Eric Bana. That was a disaster. Even though you really tried to make it look and feel like a comic book, it was just like, this is a mess. But in any case, I'm looking forward to seeing what that could be done. And on top of that, through my library, through Hoopla Digital, there's also several issues of the Green Hornet that's available for download, which I have on my iPad, and I'm just waiting to kind of read when things die down. But still, I'm sad that he has passed away, but at least it's given me a sense of resurgence and something that was from my past, and looking forward to something that's different in the future with a character that I'm not familiar with. But so I'll leave it at that. All right, so the other thing that I was going to talk about was the Inhumans. If you've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'll get into that in a moment, the Inhumans are going to go into a weird mode of a TV series / movie. Basically, IMAX is going to produce the first 2 episodes and make that as a movie, release it in the theaters, and then we'll get the series come in September. Okay, but back when I heard about this a year ago, Vin Diesel was really interested in doing this as a character, because he did Iron Giant, he did Groot, he did Riddick. These are characters that are not very rich in their vocabulary, and they don't have to speak a whole lot of words. So Black Bolt, if you know that character, he cannot say anything, because if he does, everything he utters destroys everything in its path. Basically, his sound waves, his vocal cords are that strong that it can destroy things. So, just put Vin right in the middle of the throne, let him sit there, let him look menacing. Every once in a while, he'll say something, and then there's his paycheck. Then he's done. But nothing has happened yet, and this is over a year ago. So, basically, he was looking at Marvel coming, knocking on his door, because, he feels he deserves to have Marvel be the wooer, and he's the wooee. Okay. The other thing, that another person, a wrestler that Stephen Amell did last year in some kind of SummerSlam, Body Slam, thank you ma'am, wrestling thing. What is his name that I just had here? So Cody Rhodes, is the person that was interested in taking on the role of Black Bolt. So as I said, he had worked with Stephen Amell in SummerSlam, so it could be a good fit. Who knows? I mean, Schwarzenegger did great and the Terminator because it was basically limiting his need to speak. He just needed to be menacing. You need to be this ongoing, non-stop character. So with Black Bolt, you really don't need to do a whole lot other than he has to look the part and doesn't say a whole lot. So who knows what's going to happen, but it has to be done soon. And honestly, I don't see this turning around in the amount of time to get this done, to get it ready for September. I think that's really short, and to get a series all together. Granted, Star Trek Discovery, I mean, finally looks like it has its cast, and it will be done, I think, April or May. But even then, that's a lot of time that you don't have to play with. Or a lack of time, I should say. You don't have time to play with. So, all right. So the last bit of sci-fi news, and this is kind of a repeat from last year, which I don't get, but I do understand this point of view. So Rogue One is facing another boycott because certain people of a certain color think that an agenda is being pushed upon the American people because of a diverse cast, a female lead. But if you think that's the problem, and you're a big Star Wars fan, go back to the first episode 4, New Hope. Tell me, what were the people that were on the Death Star like? What color were they? Primarily white. Now, as far as the stormtroopers, assuming that they're still the clone troopers, that was all from Jango Fett, who was white. So, you had a bunch of white people on a white space station that got blown up because you could say they're white supremacists. But that's who the Empire we're looking at. That's who they are. That's what's happening right now. So yeah, there is not necessarily an agenda, but there's a reflection of society in what we're looking at right now. We have a diverse cast. There's an Asian, there's black, there's a female. Everyone is there in the mix fighting against oppression. And sad to say that if that's not the type of escapism you want, and you think it's too on the nose of what you're dealing with, fine. But what you tried to do last year to boycott because you had a black actor in the lead and a female lead, it didn't work. It didn't work then. It's not going to work now. I don't get it. You don't want to give your money? Fine. It'll be made up elsewhere. Trust me. The movie will be fine. But to bring it up now just proves the stupidity and the lack of logic in this. I mean, you have to understand that we've come to a point in our society, and even back in the 60s when Star Trek was on, Roddenberry was talking about a future in which there were diverse characters. And that's what we need. And I've talked about this before. Even in comics, all the characters were white when I was growing up. It would have been nice to see a character that resembled me, that was not El Dorado from the Super Friends, he was Mexican, not even Puerto Rican, Trust me, I don't have any Puerto Rican superheroes. Or, well, let me tell you about, I think Jimmy Smits, who plays Antilles, I think he is Puerto Rican, so at least we got one person that's on Star Wars that's Puerto Rican. But that's it. You know? I would like to have some representation. And it's not because, you know, I demand it. It's just everything can't be just this whitewash. And that's why after a while things don't fly. It gets stale, it gets boring. You need to have different points of view. And that's the sad reality. We just can't stick to saying that white is right. It's not. It's wrong and selfish. Cut me, I'm the same color of blood as you are. What's different about me is who I am and who you are. But deep down inside, we're all the same. So, whatever. So I wanted to bring up, before I end this segment about the Star Wars boycott, I posted this on, again, the Facebook page, in which Jeff, who posted a comment that I said that I would mention him, and he wrote this that I wanted to pass along. So originally he wrote that Star Wars is more powerful than hatred, and then I had to kind of go a little bit further, and he said, I feel that for many, Star Wars has been with us since birth. It's a story that we are familiar with, and it predates our introduction to religion, politics, education, even taught hatred. Now, he wrote down that there's no racism in the ST universe, which I'm not sure if you're referring to Star Trek, other than discrimination against droids, for some reason. So I'm assuming it's Star Wars, because there is that kind of underlying tone with droids, pulling people's arms out of sockets, that kind of thing. You can be white, black, green, a slug, all considered just as characters in a story. Nothing more, nothing less. So I totally agree with you, Jeff, on that point, and thank you very much for that. Alright, so enough of that. I'm not going to go any further. So the bulk of this, the remaining part, is going to be the mid-season finales. I'm not going to talk about The Walking Dead because, one, and sadly, because of the first episode where Glenn got killed and Abraham got killed, I haven't really had much of an inkling to watch the rest of the season. Just because it's just... I'll get into it, you know, maybe after January, but I just didn't have the heart, so to speak, to continue watching the series when I felt so devastated. Westworld is also high on my list to watch, but again, I've had too many other things on my plate. I'll get to that when I can. So the things that I will be talking about, and it's not in the picture, but I am going to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season finale. I'm talking about Gotham, The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. Beware the Green-Eyed Monster episode. We're looking at it returning back on January 16th, which is not that far away, honestly. Normally, something like this I would expect to come in February, or like with The Walking Dead or Doctor Who, they stretch out the breaks in between. I hate that, but in any case. The one thing that I really found a bit of a strain was Lee and James's romance. Or at least lack of, because in the beginning of the season, James sees that Lee's happy and with another man, and it's a matter of will he or won't he go after her and profess his love or whatever. So the season's been okay. I'm not going to be like going off about how much I love last season's beginning, but it's okay. I think what made it halfway decent was seeing the Mad Hatter, Jervis Tetch, and his sister. Now, his sister has that the blood virus, in which is this like kind of like a prelude to Venom, because that's what I was thinking in my head when I saw this, because everyone who's infected, when they get into a certain state of mind and they get angry, then of course the blood virus really goes into it. So I'm not sure if that's what will happen, if they're even going to talk about Venom, but I thought that was the first thing was, oh, this is like the early version of that. Since the virus is being used, I can see someone taking a sample of this and just deriving another type of formula from that. The Captain Barnes storyline when he got infected, okay, it was fine. I think what really threw me off for this whole season, at least the beginning, is, I like Michael Chiklis. He's a great actor, but watching him, I'm reminding him of myself of, he did a hell of a lot better as Vic Mackey on The Shield, and of course he was on The Commish. So I'm like, I think enough of the cop roles. It wasn't really necessary to bring him in, but I guess you needed to have someone of that caliber to play the head honcho for the GPD, the Gotham City, or whatever, the Gotham City Police Department. So I'm hoping that he doesn't come back. Honestly, I'm kind of over it. The other thing that I talked about before was the Barbara Keene character. It looks like she might become-ish a Harley Quinn-like character. I mean, she's acting like she is. She's kind of skizzing out a bit. But, she's playing... not Oswald. She's playing Nigma kind of for a fool, because she revealed that Oswald had feelings for Nigma and why he killed off his latest girlfriend. Now, the one thing that has been really kind of weird is this whole unrequited bromance, which is a little bit more than a bromance, between Oswald and Edward. I just think I understand where they're coming from, and Edward really doesn't see anything remotely about Oswald in the least respect. He's kind of like, the oblivious girl that has a guy who's a best friend. But so I've never seen that kind of relationship explored between two villains. So I don't know. I just find it kind of weird. Not that I'm against it. It's just that it's never been done before. I've never seen that angle being done between these two characters. But okay, so it's getting there. So eventually, looks like Oswald is going to get his just desserts, and that will leave a vacancy in which Barbara Keene can come in and start ruling Gotham herself. All right, that's fine. But I think what really made me happy was that the fact that, and I talked about how much I miss Jerome. Jerome is coming back in the next episode, and just recently he did send he tweeted out a picture of him sort of in a Joker-like pose with clothes. So we are getting Jerome. This may be our Joker for this series. I don't know, but again, he made season 3 memorable until Gallivan killed him, but apparently not enough, because he's coming back. So if there's any bright spot about this, it's that Jerome is coming back. That's all I'm going to say about that. Let's move on to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This whole thing this whole season's all been about the Ghost Rider. And that's kind of a good thing, because honestly, I had no interest otherwise, because it just seemed, okay, what are you going to do now to kind of engage you? Well, Robbie Reyes, who happens to be Latino, is the Ghost Rider. And again, this is what I'm talking about, that kind of representation. There was a video that they showed of the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. going out to the New York Comic Con. And they were dressed up as their characters and go onto the floor and meet with fans and talk about who's your favorite character or whatever. And then they pull off their mask. And of course, one of them saying, I love Robbie Reyes, because it's obvious he's Latin too. That's the kind of thing that people get excited about, because they want representation, that they matter. They are part of this greater tapestry. So that's the only reason why I got to see this as much as I did, because I wanted to see Ghost Rider, and Robbie Reyes is a good character. So I just wish there was more to that character other than this kind of the way things ended between him and his uncle, who used the Darkhold book to create matter out of nothing. I still don't know what the hell that was all about. Frankly, most of the time, I didn't really care about the episodes. I just went along just to see when is Ghost Rider coming, and there he is. So I watch him, and he flames on, and it's great to watch that. And after that, you're back to the old snooze, back with that show. So the only thing that I can talk about at the end, everything's going down. Ghost Rider is trapped in this kind of containment box, and his uncle speared him a couple of times to prevent him from turning into the Ghost Rider. Is that Coulson came out and had the Ghost Rider's chain, Robbie Reyes' chain, and was ready to throw it to him, and that usually was when he catches and lights that sucker on fire and starts beating people with that, which is kind of cool. But in this case, he was going to forego the rope, so to speak, the lifeline, and take his uncle down with him, and then we're never going to see him again. I hope that's not the case. But in any case, there was this whole segment in which Yo-Yo, who is an Inhuman speedster, starts running around, does her little movements that we kind of already seen from Quicksilver and the good version of the Quicksilver from the X-Men movies. I mean, she's running around, changing positions of guns, or doing certain things so people don't get shot. And it's okay. It's a little hokey with the little... a couple of steps, you see a still shot of that character, and then a blur in between. And it was alright. It didn't go like the $6 Million Man sound effect. They had to come up with something. It wasn't that great, and it was fine. I like her. She's fine. But her running really doesn't do a hell of a lot for me to get me excited. So, but the big thing that came from this was that what set up for the next half of the season, it was that Ada, who was an LMD, the life model decoy, has somehow captured, whenever this happened, Agent May. Agent May is now not held captive, but she's unconscious. She's in a holding cell that Ada used to be. But then we have the replicant, or the dupe of Agent May, having a drink with Coulson. So we'll see what happens with that, but that seems to be the new storyline, is the LMDs, which I'll go with it. It looks interesting enough, and even Tony Stark talked about this in the first Avengers movie, that Coulson was trying to reach him to talk about what was going on, and he made that false claim that he's talking to the LMD, the life model decoy. But now we actually got it, so we'll see whatever happens with that. So the only thing that I can say about Agent May is that when we got to have that big reveal about the Calvary and how she got that name. That was the best episode. That was from season 2, episode 17, called Melinda. So that's the best episode for that character. Since then, it's been like she does whatever moments of, fighting bad guys and saying yes to Coulson on wherever. And she's very limited. And I really hate seeing that kind of limitations because, again, he did a fantastic backstory on that character. Even, having the backstory with Coulson and Tahiti in season 1 and finding his backstory as to what happened, you run out of steam. So you're just going to have to generate more other characters to kind of move the story along because they're just reacting to stuff and they're not really developing. They're not going forward. And I that's the problem that I have with that series is just going through the motions. And now with the Inhumans coming out, that's going to be the same thing. But I'm hoping for the best. So we'll see what happens. I mean, there are going to be some happy moments, but honestly, Agents does not have enough of those to keep the series worth watching. But again, I'm stuck watching this series, and I hate that feeling. But in any case, let's move on. All right, so we have... I was going to talk about Supergirl, but since I saw the Medusa episode and talked about that in the Invasion series, that really was the actual mid-season finale. So I'm like, oh, so I'm not going to talk about Supergirl now because it's already been done. So we'll see whatever that happens, but it's coming back January 16th, in which Kevin Smith actually is directing that episode called Supergirl Lives, which is a kind of a homage to the script that he wrote called Superman Lives, in which, if you ever watched that movie, or better yet, replace that because there was no movie. There was about to be a movie, but watch the documentary, in which, if you remember, Tim Burton was going to direct it, and Nicolas Cage was going to play Superman, called Superman Lives. So, thankfully, that did not happen, but nonetheless, Kevin Smith has directed an episode of Flash last year. He's done Supergirl this year coming up, called Supergirl Lives, so I'm looking forward to that. So, that's enough of Supergirl. Alright, so let's go to the Flash. We have the episode called The Present. The next episode is going to be January 24th. So again, just almost about a month away. I love the fact that Jay Garrick is back. And I love him as a character. I have a fondness for JSA characters. Just because of I love the Justice Society of America group. I love the old versions of heroes. That's just my thing. And they're not all that great. Like, what's his name? The Green Lantern, the one, his name is Alan something, I'm blanking out here. But his powers is like the Green Lantern, but I think his weakness was wood. And I'm like, wood? You can stop anything. But hurl a piece of wood at him, he can't do it. He can duck maybe, but I'm just like, that's your weakness is wood. Okay, fine, we'll just go with it, wood. But in any case, to see Jay Garrick and the Flash together on the screen again, and it's John Wesley Shipp who played the Flash back in the 80s, which I was so happy. Finally, not only did they bring him back as Barry's dad, and of course later on he died, but he gets to play the other Flash, the Flash that I love with a helmet, with the Hermes wings. So that's, again, made me very happy as a geek. So the other thing that I also was surprised at following Julian is a likable character and very a little bit more well-rounded than just a one-off character that you really don't care about. So that was just an awesome moment just to see, him having a backstory and finding out that, he's not such a douche, but, you understand where he's coming from. The other thing, too, is that we get a vision that the Flash has. Not so much a vision, but he somehow goes into the future, and he sees the fact that he's pleading against Savitar from not killing Iris, and Iris, unfortunately, does get killed. And then, of course, he is freaked out that something's going to happen in the future to Iris. So, in the process, when he comes back, we do get another fight with Savitar, in which Cisco is believing his dead brother is alive again, but it's really a ruse, basically, to kind of bring Savitar back out, since he was kept in some kind of stasis. But what I liked about that is that I think that was the kind of like the final closure moment that Cisco really is going to have in regards to his brother and having the animosity towards Barry. So I think that it's run its course, and it's time to move on from that point on. The other cool thing in that episode is that Wally, for his Christmas present, he actually got his suit. He actually got the Kid Flash suit, which was great from the very beginning, in the beginning of the season. But now it's official that he actually is going to be not so much a sidekick. I don't think he should be referred to as a sidekick, but he is going to be known as Kid Flash. So that's going to be awesome. And there's some other great moments that are in this episode. Joe and Cecile, having their moment together, sharing their grandmother's eggnog and how spiked it is, and HR getting drunk off that. Even Caitlin, tapping into her Killer Frost powers towards the end with the carolers who were singing in the rain. She converted the rain into snow. So, it was all so well done and ends on a good note, despite the fact that, what's going to happen in the future is unsettling to Barry. But, he finally gives her his Christmas present, and he gets her their own apartment, so to speak. Iris is blown away by this because she's really touched that he's making this kind of commitment. So, like any couple would do in the very beginnings, and I've done this, she started to kiss Barry. She's taking off her coat, and then
I've been really trying, baby, trying to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you feel like I feel, baby, then come on. Oh, come on. Woo. Let's get it on.
DTF. That's what they did. Because I did that too in my first apartment with my wife. So you got to initiate by DTF. So that was probably my favorite moment of that whole episode. Is even though it's warm and heart rate, I had to play that bit of the music just because that's the first thing that came into my head is that moment. So I'm like, I gotta do this in this podcast. All right, so let's go on to Arrow. What we leave behind is... Sorry, I got like a saliva bubble stuck in my throat. I was like... So it's called What We Leave Behind, and it's going to be returning on January 18th. So what was cool about this? Hey, no flashbacks about the island. Fantastic. Sort of. We got a flashback to what happened on season 1. So, fine. but it's no island, and I can live with that. So if that's what they plan to do for season 6 and beyond, if they go that far, is to go back to what happened in the earlier seasons, fine. As long as it's not the island, because again, he was on that island for 5 years. But it has to happen, it has to end this season with him on that island before getting rescued. So how he gets back there, I don't know. But in any case, no island flashback. Within that flashback, it was nice to see just Diggle and Felicity and Oliver. Clean, simple, just a trio. That was fantastic. I forgot those moments. Not that it's not good now, but there's something about keeping it clean, and it wasn't so complicated because everyone was clear what their roles are. And even Oliver himself has changed in the process, becoming this killer of the bad guys, and Tommy changing him on his deathbed, so to speak, and making Oliver now a true hero, rather than killing people, but saving people in the process. So I'll talk about that in a moment, because it does come back and it bites him in the ass. The other thing that was happened, Curtis had gotten attacked by, I think it was Prometheus. I'm not sure if it was him. But there's his significant other, which he happens to be gay, basically has the exact same lines that you would have for a straight couple, where the woman is, I can't do this. Either you love me or you love what you do. We just can't do them both together. That kind of moment. So it's adequate. It's valid feelings, regardless of your gender, whether you're male or female. That the spouse for him was basically, that's how he calls it, and that's fine with that. So that's where Curtis is like, I really like what I do. So that really doesn't make his significant other feel any better. But we'll see whatever happens with that. Now, the other thing was that that got to Oliver in the process is that he had to rescue Billy, which was, I should say not was, but it was Felicity's boyfriend. And the reason why I say was is because, unfortunately, in the process of him fighting Prometheus, he at one point thought he was fighting Prometheus, but it turns out to be him, Billy, in Prometheus' outfit. So he shot a couple arrows in him, point blank, and killed him. And he took off the mask and realized, oh, I just killed my ex's boyfriend, and then I'm going to have to tell her that I did this. And I think that was really well done, because again, Oliver's has such a long ride or cold arc from where he was in season 1 to where he is right now. And considering what happened in the last episode with the Invasion series, in which, you know, he had that wonderful life that he had to give up, we really don't get to see a whole lot of emotional sides to him. He keeps it bottled up, he gets angry, but he's, you know, really upset that he just did this. And not that Felicity's blaming him because she blames Prometheus, but you can see the guilt that's on Oliver's face because of what he did, and how what he did in the past is now coming around and biting him in the butt. That, I think, is really, really cool that they're tying in stuff like that. And I hope that the big reveal for Prometheus is going to be a big reveal and not just, you know, something lame. But in any case, we'll see whatever happens with the rest of Era, but very happy with the way things are going with this season, despite the fact that it is with Curtis and his cornrows, which I still complain about. But in any case, it's a good series. I can't fault it for what it's doing because it's going on for so long. But let's move forward and tell more better stories like you have been lately, and it's more focused. And of course, I could not fail to mention this, but Laurel is back. So how could this all be? As I said back in last season, I called BS that there's no way that she could have died. So I'm thinking that she was undercover, supposedly. Or, and I'll talk about this in Legends of Tomorrow in the next segment, but I have a theory as to how she came back. Let's go on to Legends of Tomorrow. This is the last and final review after a long podcast of me talking. All right, so this episode was called The Chicago Way, and we're looking at its return January 24th. So, a couple of things. Right from the beginning of season 2, we lost a couple of characters. We lost basically Snart for last year, and Rip Hunter in the first couple of episodes, we lost him. And again, not because of contracts, pay raises, anything like that. It's just that he had a prior commitment to do Broad Church, right, with David Tennant. But now he is back, so we do get to see him at the end of the episode, which I'll get to in a moment. One of the things I liked about this episode, right off the bat, Nate and Ray. Nate I didn't like at all since the beginning of the episode, but he's grown to be more likable. And I think him playing around with Ray and testing out the powers is a lot of cute geekness between them. Because they're just horsing around with each other, and then Sarah comes in, and she's like, what are you guys doing? You know, I told you guys to knock it off like a mom. And as soon as she walks away with Jax, you know, you can hear them roughhousing in the background again. So that's the kind of moments that I'm like, that's really cute. And I love that kind of little nuanced relationship that they actually are putting. Because Sarah, for the most part, you know, even though she's an assassin, but now she's really taking on like the leadership role and making it work without Rip. So I'm like, this is fantastic. I'm happy with this kind of direction. So we get to go into the past, which is now the 1940s. We've done a previous episode in the Civil War. We did feudal Japan. So I think coming episodes, we're going to go back into the Land of the Lost dinosaur period. So this season has been a lot more focused, a lot more concise. The fact that we lost characters, I think they found their niche, and the characters have really filled out a lot better. Ray is still kind of is so-so, but and I think because of Nate, it's the two of them working together. I think that works better than Ray pairing off with Mick. Now, the other thing here in this episode, too, speaking of Mick, is that he sees Snart every once in a while talking to him, and he thinks he's hallucinating throughout the episode. So, is this something that's real? This is another, you know, an alien inhabiting his thoughts like Savitar did with Cisco? Who knows? But it was good to see Snart, even though it was just a limited run on that. So, our main thing here was that we had to see Al Capone. Elliot Ness had to be saved because he had some galoshes or cinder blocks on his feet. So at one point, you know, Al Capone pushes him into the water. Of course, he's already there. And the team that goes after him is Vixen, who changes into what? A dolphin. What do dolphins do? They swim. So they got it right. So it's like, see? You create the animal, you got the trait, and you become the animal. You go after him, you start swimming. She didn't have to become a kung fu elephant like I mentioned last time. That's, again, you did it right. You didn't have to do something weird and muck up the animal. So I was happy about that. And of course, no one else would know that, but that's just my little 2 cents in there. But of all people, Malcolm comes back. So he is part of this now trio with Damien Dark and Reverse Flash. So they're kind of the League of Doom-ish, sort of. So it was fine seeing all of them working together. So my thing is that on a previous episode or two, Sarah had talked to Damien about what he was going to do and kill Laurel. So I think in that moment, whatever that future action that he would have done, I think he decided to not do that. And thereby not kill Laurel. She's still alive. So we'll see how that plays out, but I think it has nothing to do with the Flashpoint paradox that Barry created. So we'll leave it at that, but that's how I'm thinking that Laurel is back on the Arrow because of what Sarah did in the past when she met Damien. Alright. Aside from that, we had the big reveal at the end, which is Rip Hunter is back, but he is a director back in 1967, the year that I was born, in Los Angeles. So, how did this come to be? We'll find out come January 24th. Alright. That's it. I am really, really done because normally I do like a 20, 30-minute episode. This is running on well over an hour. So, it is 2 hours from midnight, or actually less than 2 hours from midnight, before Rogue One happens. My friend Tigger is actually watching it right now, so I'm anxious to hear her reviews. But as I told her in the post, I will be letting her know if I hate Rogue One, which I'm hoping not. I'm hearing good things about how well it's almost as equal to Empire. So I was so looking forward to that. So I will be seeing that tomorrow. And I'm taking my kids out of school early because that's what a cool dad does. And then Gene just texted me, so you heard the little beep in the background. He says he's going to see it on the 22nd, which is Thursday. So, if everything works out, I'm hoping to get it by Christmas. If not, it's going to have to happen after Christmas to watch or talk about Star Wars Rogue One. So that will be the next podcast. So after that, I'm going to take a break because of the holidays, and so should you. And come January, again, depending on the schedule, Gene and I will be back to talk about 2016 in the year in review like we've done in the past. So, you have this podcast, you have the Star Wars coming up, and then the year in review. Year in review is going to be episode 99 of the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. So, the next episode after that is episode 100. And I want to plan out something special. I don't know what that is. I've been asking advice. But if you're listening to this, I want you to let me know what your thoughts are. Email me at themonsterscifishow@gmail.com or put a comment in my Facebook page. You can also send me a Twitter tweet. You can send me a Twitter tweet? You can tweet me on Twitter. That's what I should say. Whatever the case is, I'm really tired and I really want to go to bed. But I still have to edit all this. So, again, I'm hoping that all of you enjoy this podcast and what I did for the past year and what I've done in the past years also. Things are only getting better. I'm hoping to have more guests in the future, more episodes, more different types of episodes than just a standard movie review and sci-fi news. I'm looking to do a lot more. Dune is a book that I mentioned before that I've read once or twice, actually more than once or twice, but I want to reread it next year, maybe for a book club. We'll see what happens, but again, I would love to hear from all of you. So on that note, again, 2016 has been a rough year. Let's all hang in there. I know it sounds like a cat poster, but it's true. We can only get this year if we stay as geeky as we can and as nerdy as we can with whatever we find our life's passions in. So some will be like me, looking forward to watching Star Wars tomorrow with my family. looking forward to talking about Star Wars with my co-host, Mr. Gene. Whatever that is, find joy in what you do. So, thank you for listening to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. Sci-fi, from a certain point of view. Good night.
You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.